Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Monday, 24 March. I'm your host Daniel, and today we'll be covering the UN has warned that millions will die of AIDS after US cuts. Russia and the US are discussing a ceasefire deal, and more than 1,100 people have been detained in Istanbul. So firstly, the head of UNAIDS has warned that over 6 million additional deaths from AIDS could occur due to the sudden funding cuts by the United States. Previously the program's largest donor, she described the cuts as devastating, stating that they threaten to undo 25 years of the progress in the fight against HIV/AIDS. Without alternate funding sources, the next 4 years could see 6.3 million more AIDS-related deaths and 8.7 million new infections. She cautioned that the new crisis could escalate beyond Africa, affecting key populations in Eastern Europe and Latin America, potentially bringing the pandemic back to 1990s levels. The US funding cuts implemented under President Donald Trump and his ally Elon Musk have sparked protests both domestically and internationally. She acknowledged that while it is reasonable for the US to reduce its foreign aid over time, the abrupt withdrawal has a severe consequence. She urged the White House to reconsider its decision and restore funding to prevent the resurgence of the epidemic. So what? This is a tough spot, as generally, governments cannot slowly withdraw aid, especially after being involved for so long. Though that would be an ideal situation, it is unrealistic due to the way US politics operates. I guess Trump could have given her a year to slowly withdraw the funding, but it would still be hard to replace, and it isn't really his way of doing business. I do understand why Americans want to reduce the amount of money they spend on foreign aid, though, and I'm guessing that most Americans didn't think that there would be a direct loss of life as a result. And next, the United States and Russia have begun negotiations in Saudi Arabia regarding a potential ceasefire in the ongoing war in Ukraine, now in its third year. Talks at the Ritz-Carlton in Riyadh follow earlier discussions between the US and Ukrainian officials. The American delegation includes the special envoy to Ukraine, the National Security Advisor, while Russia's representation is a veteran of the FSB and a diplomat. The Kremlin has acknowledged a shared understanding with the US on advancing towards a settlement, and it also emphasized that many technical issues remain unresolved. Among the key discussion points is the Black Sea Initiative, a previously established agreement to ensure the safe passage of Ukrainian grain, as well as concerns over attacks on energy infrastructure. Despite Russia's claim that it has halted strikes on Ukraine's energy sector, Ukrainian officials have accused Moscow of continuing these attacks, including a deadly strike on Kiev days ago. Ukraine has demanded a formal agreement before it agrees to suspend its retaliatory drone strikes against Russian oil facilities. Meanwhile, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov noted that the Russian forces are following President Vladimir Putin's directives, but are monitoring the situation closely. The US has expressed cautious optimism about the talks, but significant hurdles remain before a ceasefire agreement can be reached. So what? While the talks are positive, there are no signs of even discussing some of the more significant issues that are causing the conflict, meaning it is likely a long way away from anything that looks like a lasting peace. It seems possible that Russia is participating in these talks only to appease the US to avoid further sanctions, all the while just continuing the war the way they were. I'm sure at some point the Trump administration will pull them up on this, but it seems a long way off yet. And lastly, Turkish police have detained over 1,100 people in response to the ongoing mass protests triggered by the arrest of the Istanbul mayor. Authorities claim that some of those detained are affiliated with terrorist organizations, while more than 120 police officers have been injured during the demonstrations. The protest erupted following the mayor's arrest on corruption charges, which came after his university diploma was revoked a requirement for presidential candidates. Many view his arrest as politically motivated, as he is the key opposition figure and a strong challenger to the current president, Tayyip Erdogan. The crackdown has sparked international condemnation from countries such as Germany and France. In addition to protests, journalists covering the demonstration have also been arrested, with rights groups reporting that the detention of at least 10 reporters. The Turkish Journalists' Union described the attacks as an attack on the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press. Despite mounting pressures, authorities have not commented on the journalist's detention. Meanwhile, the mayor's wife addressed supporters at a rally, vowing that he would prevail against Erdogan's government. So what? Analysing historical patterns, it appears that the arrest and subsequent crackdown on protests are likely politically motivated. This is supported by the high level of preparation demonstrated by riot police before the arrest, indicating that they anticipated a strong response. It seems that Erdogan is targeting a significant political opponent and intends to suppress the protests violently until participants lose interest or become fatigued and return home. Thank you for tuning in to the Intel Brief, your daily update on global geopolitics, brought to you by HM Intelligence. You can support the show by sharing with your friends or leaving us a 5-star review. And if you're curious to learn more about intelligence, why not check out one of our courses in the description below. Thank you for listening. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you next time.